Hello, this is a continuation of some basic sign language, ASL, and also I'm going to be talking about today some cultural things, some things that you may not be used to if you're new to sign language. As a review, last time we talked about, we did the ABCs, and you can always go back to that video for a review of that. It might take a little longer than we want to take today. We also learned some signs. Some of them included thank you, you're welcome, nice to meet you, and I think that will cover that for now. If you do have any questions, just look again at the previous video. I wanted to talk about some signs that I had forgotten that are pretty common that I didn't talk about last time. The first one includes please. And I can't think of a reason why that would be especially, but that's the sign for please. And it's not like stretched out hand, it's usually all together, so please. And it's usually not down below, because that kind of looks like nummy. So please right there. Also, yes and no. You can always yes or no. You can always do that. But the actual sign is yes. It looks like your head going yes. So it's pretty easy to remember. And the other one is no. And that, I kind of think it's a combination of N-O, no. So yes and no, or just shake your head or nod your head. Some of the other things you might want to learn is a lot of the times the deaf may want to know about you personally, and maybe you feel some questions are personal, but they're probably curious, and that's common to be curious about who they're meeting and within their own community, to wonder where people are from. So they may ask you, you live or live, either one is fine. You live where? So if you see that, you'll know what it means. And then you can respond, I live. And then that's where your finger spelling practice will kick in, because you probably don't know the name sign, which is, instead of finger spelling everything all the time, most deaf will assign a specific sign for that area. So sometimes it's just as simple as, like, if you live in a city that starts with V, like I do in Vancouver, V. Or Portland. So you'll finger spell it. They'll probably give you the name sign, especially if you ask for it, and from then on you can just say, I live in Vancouver, or wherever you live. Another one is I work, and again, you can finger spell it, either the place or what kind of work you do. We can talk about that in future videos, or you can look it up online. There's several dictionaries online that will tell you if you're a secretary or whatever. You can look those up, and we can talk about that more later. Another thing you might say is I'm a student. So that's like a compound sign, but it's learn person. So I'm a student. Or if you're not actually a student, if you're just learning sign language, you could just say I'm learning ASL or sign language. So just as a review of that little bit, yes, no, please, so you're pointing, I live, finger spell it out using the ABCs, or I work, and again, there's no contraction, so it's just I. There's nothing different from I'm. So I'm a student. You're taking the information off the paper or off the book and you're putting it in your head. And this comes from person. So putting it in your head, student. Okay. One thing that, since we're talking about like you work where, there's no period as far as period, exclamation point, question mark, that you're signing really. So it's all in your face. So let's say you ask the deaf person as you're getting to know them, you live where? So you could do it like this. And that's not really a question yet. It's the blank, the straightness of the face, the lack of expression basically conveys you're putting a period at the end of that. So instead, you would probably want to go, now I'm confused. You live where? See the difference? Eyebrows are up and you're kind of inclining your head. You live where? So that question face, it's kind of necessary to convey the grammar of it, of your communication. Or you could do an exclamation. You live where? It's much more intense and fast, and your eyebrows are a little bit contracted. So that is the grammar as far as like questions and exclamations and sentences. So you sometimes might think that deaf are really expression strong, but that's part of their grammar. And you'll have to learn that too as you are talking. Some people are just naturally very animated and some people are less, but at some point they will have to do something. And if you're not very good at questions, sometimes what I do is you live where, and go like this. This is kind of like, huh? Or if you don't understand what they said, you can go, huh? It's just kind of an all-encompassing question. This is a sign actually for question, but this is just kind of a huh. So you could use that, but it's better to use your expression. Okay. Another thing that you may not be used to is in most American culture, pointing is kind of considered rude. But in sign language or in the deaf community, it's pretty common to just point. So when you're like, that person over there, that person, or you can, I'll just go there, that person over there. That's not rude. Or over there, or over there. That is okay. So if you feel kind of like you're being rude because you're pointing, don't. It's just part of the way most deaf communicate. Some people will be less like that. There's always variations within a community, but most people over there, it's far. It's a lot of, especially if you don't know, you can't say turn left at the blue house. If you can't say that, especially that type of thing, the pointing is fine. Don't feel like you have to be stiff and just, just talk. The communication will not work out. Another thing is some people actually, when the people are signing, the deaf person is signing, another person, like a hearing person who may not be familiar with the culture, actually grabs their hands to stop them. That's a big no-no. I wouldn't recommend that at all because they'll get really upset because it's kind of like me putting my hand over your mouth. So don't do that. I wouldn't suggest that. Because that's the way they express themselves, and by doing that, it's quite offensive. So if you're frustrated, you can try some other way around it, but that's another thing that is really, it's a kind of a no-no. So just in review, today we learned some more of the basic words. Please, yes, no, or yes, no. Either one is fine, but those are the signs. Yes, no. Getting to know you kind of sentences is I live, and finger spell it out, or I work, and you can finger spell it out or learn the sign for what you do. You would say I'm, remember no contractions, I am is just I'm a learn person. You're taking things off the paper and putting it in your head. Learn person. I'm a student is what you're saying. Also, remember expression. More of a blank, more of a, not blank, but less expression is just sentences. I live in Vancouver. Or versus, remember, I live Vancouver. It's more of a question. My eyebrows are up. My head is a little bit inclined. Or I live Vancouver. So you see the difference in there, and each of those conveys a grammar. So don't be afraid to use your expression because that's part of the communication as well. Point if you need to. It's not rude. Go ahead and do that. Don't grab their hands. So anyway, I hope this is helpful for you. And if you guys have any comments or questions or requests for exactly anything that you wanted to learn, like what kind of category, you can let me know in the comments. And I appreciate your time. Thanks.